We had swim-a-thons and all kinds of wonderful things across the city. I mean, it really is a gift from all of the people from Houston. And everybody saved their nickels and dimes and raised money, and it just all came together to be a tremendous gift. Dick and I knew, having lived here, I did, how lucky I was to live here and not have to eat out of vending machines and sleep in hospital corridors. It was a really tough time. At Texas Children's, they did have one parent could stay in the room, but for families who came from long distances, it was separation of the families, and it was really a really tough time. And we were very fortunate that we lived here.
Right.
Of course, you were very busy trying to make money for your family and trying to pay for the disease that our kiddos had, because at that time it was hard. I mean, you had insurance, but we had to put out of pocket money out, and
But you found ways.
yeah, you found ways. But I felt always so blessed that we had enough money. We met so many kids and families that didn't have any money, and they had a kid with cancer. So we felt really fortunate, and we've had a wonderful time.
Learned a lot. And it came full circle for us, because when you started working with it, when we were working with it, we knew that we were building this house for people from out of town.
Right.
And now it's come to where we have a house inside the hospital where if we live in Houston and we have a child that goes in the hospital in Houston, we could very well be in the Ronald McDonald House at Texas Children's Hospital.
That, to you and me, has probably been our greatest gift, is the things that we've done at Texas Children's Hospital, and it took us a long time to get there.
Right.
But there's a 20-bedroom house in the hospital for the parents who have really seriously ill children. And then there's 3 family rooms, the cardiology and cancer center outpatient, and the cancer center in-house. And those are wonderful.
And Texas Children's Hospital is going to be 5 times bigger than it was when we were
no.
there. And the Ronald McDonald House is right there in the old section where we were.
That's right.
That's right.
And we're so very fortunate that our first house was in the Astrodome area, which we weren't invited into the medical center because nobody knew if Ronald McDonald House was going to be successful or not. So we kidded, our architect, Curly Broadnecks, had cancer at the time, and he did not live to see the house open, but he had a wonderful vision for the house. But we said he made it just a little bit like a office building in case we had to sell it and we weren't successful. But then in 1997, we were able to get the medical center invited us into the medical center and donated 2.5 acres, which is a lease, for the house that is here now. And we've just been expanding on all directions and feel so very fortunate. It's taken on a new dimension, and especially where our kids are involved. So many of the local people are really now are being able to use the house at the hospital, and that pleases Dick and I so much. And we kept asking Dr. Fernbach, what can we do? We're just parents, and we can't treat the kids, but we want to help. We knew that there was a big need for research money. And also, we were well aware of all the families who were from out of town that had to come here and staying in hotels, and so many of them were so financially stressed. It was really a tough time for the entire family. So about that same time, Dr. Fernbach and Don and I heard about the Philadelphia house of the Ronald McDonald House, and we started finding out about it, and the McDonald owner-operators came and talked to us and said, is this something you like? Well, we fit it to a T, because it had to be a children's hospital that treated cancer, and you had to have a large local base of parents, and that fit Texas Children's perfectly. So we started in earnest in in 1978, 79 was when we had the parents meeting at Texas Children's Hospital. And we just contacted all of Dr. Fernbach's parents, whether we had the children had lived or died, to come and help us build this Ronald McDonald House. Well, we had an outpouring that was incredible. And we bought some land in Plaza Del Oro, right by the Astrodome. And we had an incredible community outreach. The Houston Oilers will always be #1 as far as I'm concerned, because Bud Adams and the Oilers contributed more than any other NFL team for a Ronald McDonald House across the country. The hospital, Texas Children's, opened their arms to us and helped us learn how to write grants. We didn't know how to do anything. We knew we wanted to build a house, but we didn't know exactly how to do it. So they helped us through the whole process of grants, and our goal was $1.8 million for the house and $1.2 million for the endowment. And May of 1981, we opened the house, fully paid for, and our endowment of $1.2 million. And that's how it became involved.
It reminded me of another story about the old days.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I got to tell this story because
Okay,
it talks about some of the things that we do that we don't realize what we're doing sometimes. And I met Ray and Reese Lewandowski at the National Ronald McDonald House Convention at 2 years into the project. And Ray and Reese had started the Corpus Christi Ronald McDonald House, and he was the president. And I said, well, Ray, you need to come up for one of our dinners and we'll show you the dinner. And he said, okay. And I think he asked me, I said, I'll get you some space available tickets on Southwest. It's Tuesday night. The planes weren't very full. Back then it was on Tuesdays. And he said, okay. And then he called me and says, can I bring a couple more people? I said, yeah, that'd be okay. And 4 of them came up to come visit the house, and they came to visit the house, and we had a great time. And he goes, this was great, And he says, you think I could bring a couple more people back next month? I said, well, sure. So I talked to Colleen, and we got some more passes, and we started bringing people back and forth. And that happened again, and that went on for like a year and a half. And he would bring, every month, he would bring 2, 3, 4 people. He and Reese and Ray, they were married. He's a doctor and his wife. And they would bring 3 or 4 people from Corpus Christi. And we would give them a tour, and the newspaper would come from Corpus Christi, and the TV station would come from Corpus Christi, and helping them raise awareness of the Ronald McDonald House, to build the Ronald McDonald House. Well, 10 years later, I get a phone call from Ray, and he wants me to come down to Corpus Christi to go to a banquet that was honoring him. Well, Ray gets up and tells the real story. And the real story was that he and his wife filled out an application in Corpus Christi to have a Ronald McDonald House. And they filled out all the blanks. And when it said, do you have a board of directors? They checked, oh, sure, we have a board of directors. And they mailed it in. Well, the National Advisory Board called them on a Thursday and said, we want to meet your board, we'll be there on Monday. So they put a bunch of doctors and nurses, and Ray's up there telling the story at the 10-year anniversary. He said, we put a bunch of doctors and nurses in a room, and we told them to act like they were board members, and so they did. And that was our pseudo board. He says, but we didn't have a board, so we needed to recruit a board. And the way we recruited a board was, we never told Dick East this, but we were flying them to Houston, and we take them to show them the Ronald McDonald House. And if it took us 4-hour project, 6 hours, we'd be with them 5 hours. And if we liked them, we'd ask them to be on the board. And if we didn't like them, we wouldn't ask them to be on the board. And he says, and that's how we recruited. Our whole board of directors was complimentary of free tickets on Southwest to Houston and back.
Oh,
And that's how they did the Corpus Christi Ronald McDonald House. And we went to the opening, and Herb went to the opening. And even at the opening, we had no clue that that's how he recruited the board.
Oh. And you also had a hand in the New Orleans house, and you've had golf tournaments. Southwest has had wonderful golf tournaments and raised millions of dollars for Ronald McDonald houses all across the country.